Can you see my slide? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining. So, I'm Loic Sall. I'm a research fellow at Vibration UTC in Mechanical Engineering at Imperial College London. And it's really a pleasure that we are presenting here with Alessandra. And I will try to make it short from my side so Alessandra can present all the very interesting and new results she has. So just a small outline. As I saw other people doing that, I will show a small biography, then the context of our research, a little bit about the method we use, because it's quite of the core of our approach, and some example, and also what we are working on at the moment, and some things that I think is quite original compared to maybe other group. Okay, so I graduated in École Centrale Lyon, and I saw that there is some people from École Centrale Lyon, so welcome here. Yeah, then I went to Russia to do part of my study, and I had the pleasure to work on rocket engine, and that's why you can see Soyuz behind me. Then I did my PhD in École Centrale de Lyon with Bauman University, and I had to move to aircraft engine because at that time there was no really funding for rocket engineering. I mean, SpaceX didn't exist, and at that time, and also rocket and engineering was not so popular. Then I did a postdoc in applied mathematics on aeroelasticity, same in Bauman University and École Centrale de Lyon. And in 2012, I joined the UTC at Imperial College, which is a research center funded by Rolls-Royce. And since 2016, I'm a research fellow and I'm the team leader of computational vibration. So what is UTCs? So UTC stands for University Technology Center. So they are a research center dedicated to research for Rolls-Royce. So they are funded by Rolls-Royce and also by governments through public funding. There is around 20 centers. Most of them are in UK, and each of them has a technical discipline. So in our case, it's vibration, and we are one of the first ones that was funded in the 90s with Oxford UTCs. And in those centers, you get academic research fellow, research assistant, PhD student, and a technician. So if we talk about the UTC at Imperial, we are 5 permanent people, or academics, we'll say, with different topics. So some of them join us quite recently. So for example, Ludovic Ranson, so that's why his group is quite small. And of course, even if we have a division of in teams, we all work together, and we have a project where we are working in collaboration. Especially, we have a strong link between aeroelasticity and computational vibration. So that's kind of the team that is in charge of computational vibration. Of course, people move and change every year, but that's the size of the teams that I am dealing with. So in terms of topic we do, so aeroelasticity is mainly CFD, and we have a code that is called EO3D that was started more than 30 years ago, and it's for force response, flutter, seal flutter, all the things that can have an issue in an aircraft engine. And then we have computational vibration, which I'm in charge, where we develop a code force, and I will talk more about it. Then we have structural dynamics that is led by Christoph Schwind-Schackel, and that is more on the physics of the dynamics, and also all the experimental work that is needed for the numerical method, both for validation and also to get the data to put in our model. So what is computational vibration? So I came with this concept. The idea is that instead of doing just vibration, we do vibrations, but with models that we can use on a large, we can model large-scale structure. And for that, so we need, one important thing is that we need computing. So high performance computing and very efficient algorithms. So you need people that know computer science. Of course, we need the mechanics to understand the physics of what we are modeling. And we have a strong emphasis in mathematics, even if we are not mathematicians. So computational vibration is the mix of this three domain of research. And what we want is to develop efficient numerical method for nonlinear vibration of complicated systems. And now, by complicated system, I will show you an example of one complicated system that is an aircraft engine, and I will explain why we need to work on vibration. So just, unfortunately, when there is vibration in an engine, it can finish very badly, and it can lead to failure. So it can be just failure of the blade because of cracks that are propagating. And this is all right if it just stains the blade and nothing else. But sometimes you have the issue that you can lose part of the engine, can lose a blade and it can go to the cockpit, or even worse, you can have the aircraft that crash. So I was quite nice. I gave 3 examples of 3 different engine manufacturers, but I won't say who is who. In terms of method, the way the engineer deal with that is that they do a high cycle fatigue computation, and of course it's numerical with validation, with experimental validation, and of course their experience. And you start from the geometry, you do what is called Campbell diagram to compute the modes and see where you can have some excitation. Then you need the CFD, and you need to have a really good CFD code to be able to forecast the loading. That will allow you to know where is your stress constraint and where you may have issue, which then you will see if you have issue in terms of fiability or fatigue. And if you have issue, so this kind of diagram that is called egg diagram. If you are below this curve, or let's say on this one, below this curve, you are okay, no really risk. If you are in this area, there is risk and you need to find a way to go below. And one of the way to reduce the stress is to add a damping to your system. And VUTC at Imperial, we work a lot on how we can model and design this kind of damping. So, of course, the focus of our center is nonlinear vibration, because for linear vibration, now it's quite, I won't say sorted, but the method are well implemented in industry and they know how to do it. But as soon as it becomes nonlinear, it's a little bit more complicated, and the methods are still in development. So you can have a lot of nonlinearity in aero engine. It can be related to the contact that you have between, for example, the blade and the disc in the fan. It can be in the shroud. It can be, of course, also on the static part, so the flange in the casing. But also sometimes you will add some nonlinearities to increase this damping. So for example, under platform dampers. Then you have other source of nonlinearities which are a little bit more complicated and can be really a disaster, is when you have the blades that touch the casing. So if you have a tip rub event, or also if you lost a blade and you start to have a wheel milling, and even if the engine needs a stop, you still have the engines that can vibrate and the blade can touch the casing. New thing related to the new design of blades are geometric nonlinearities, and Alessandra will talk a lot about it, so I won't focus too much about it. So yeah, as you can see, there is a lot of things in terms of nonlinear vibration that you may have to deal with when you design an aircraft engine. So for us, it's really a nice tool to develop new methods and to work on this interesting phenomena. So if we look at the nonlinearities in our community, we like to divide them in two families, what we call localized nonlinearities, so contact friction, interface nonlinearities, or contact between the rotor and the stator. So what means localized nonlinearities means that we consider that the nonlinearities is only at the interface and very limited to an area of the structure, and that we can consider the rest of the structure linearly. And that has a huge advantage, especially when you develop reduced order modeling technique. On the other hand, you have what opposite to localized nonlinearity, what we call distributed nonlinearities, which usually is normal nonlinearities, is what happens inside the structure. So that can be geometric nonlinearities or material nonlinearities. For example, if you have a composite material with a carbon fiber, you can have the behavior of your matrix and also the behavior of the carbon fiber with the rest of the material. So yeah, of course, we develop different techniques depending on if it's localized nonlinearity or distributed nonlinearities. So in VUTC and for Rolls-Royce, we have a code that is called Force Response Suite. It was started 20 years ago by Evgeny Petrov, and it's developed in modern Fortran with an object-oriented programming paradigm. So in terms of programming is modern, even if it's Fortran. I mean, the paradigm that we use. It's more than 100,000 lines of code. And the interesting thing is just the pre and post processor has more lines of code than the code itself. And some figures, so the code is used every day by Rolls-Royce for design of new components and also for understanding unexpected event, so when there is an issue. And it's used approximately by 50 users. So what are the methods behind this code? So I will start just before going in detail in the method, even if I won't go really in detail in method, it's how we organize our simulation and our modeling, and this is our strategy, and it also shows the method we have to work on. So we start from a geometry, and I have to admit we don't really work on the meshing and the geometry itself. We leave that to other UTC and to Rolls-Royce. So usually when we start, we already have a mesh and a finite element model. Then we need to reduce the model because we cannot solve directly the full model. That will be too many nonlinear equations. Then we will, depending on the physics we want to solve, we need to put nonlinear laws. So if it's contact, usually it's an hysteretic behavior. Then we have the technique to model the differential equation, and in our case we use harmonic balance method with alternating frequency time, and I will just talk about it later a little bit. And then we develop a lot of technique around continuation method to be efficient and be able to handle this dynamic problem. So in theory, once you have all those components, you have all your numerical method. But one thing is missing, is that you need to validate. So you need experimental result to validate what your numerical results are saying. Because if it's not validated, you never know if if your code is giving you a right result. And doing validation, it's quite interesting because also you learn a lot. So I'm not going to show results here, but I can tell you that when we started to do validation for contact modeling, in fact, at the end, we learned a lot and we had to do a new development and to improve what we were doing. Just a mind map, it's a brainstorming we did 5 years ago with Christoph and Norbert Hoffmann when he was the director of the UTC, where we said, so what do we need to do the modeling? And that's a little bit explain how our research is organized and how the PhD or the project we do. So what we want, it's kind of related to the slide I showed just before. The only thing I will say is that there is one thing related, of course, if you want your code to be used, it has to be user-friendly, which means you need to spend time on improving the user experience. And that's a difficult one because it's where you need the software developer but it's very difficult to find funding for that because usually the agency considers that this is not research and it's more engineering. And it's really a problem. And so far we didn't really find a proper solution for that. One thing, and I know that Alice, you work a lot on that. Also, we linked all those things to uncertainty quantification. And we have some paper where we show some results of how we can couple uncertainty quantification with nonlinear vibration. And I think we are quite good at that, but I'm not going to show results on that. Everything I'm talking, if you go on Scholar, you will see papers where we show results in more detail on all those things. So how do we model the problem? So what we do, so we start from a discretized problem, usually in finite element, where we have we put the nonlinear force on the right-hand side because, as I say, most of the times they are localized, so we consider that they are kind of external forcing. To solve this differential equation, we say that we have Fourier, that it's periodic and that we can use Fourier series. Then with the Galerkin procedure, we can transform the problem in an algebraic problem that is nonlinear and that we can solve. And I see that I'm already taking a lot of time, so I will jump directly to, just to show what we can get with our code when we use it. So it's just a comparison just to show the results we can obtain with the code we develop. And there is not a lot of results existing in the literature where you can see the time. So I found this one that is published by people from ETH, where they compare different code and their code that is called SSM tool. So they model beam, which is linear in finite element, with a nonlinear string at the end, and they solve for different degree of freedom. And 10,000 means that you have 10,000 elements in the beam, but of course you have only one nonlinear degree of freedom. And what I'm going to show you with the results we obtain in force is show how when you use the fact that the structure is linear and you reduce your problem to the nonlinear degree of freedom, you can be much faster. So if I take here 500 degree of freedom, what they show with all the results is that you are between 10 minutes and 1 day, depending on what they are using and how they set up their model. When we use force, it takes 2 seconds. Then we compare for more degree of freedom, and that's where we are. So we have 2 orders of magnitude less than SSM tool. And it's just because we are using the dynamic of the problem and the physics of the problem to really come with an optimal way of reducing the size of our problem. So then some example of what we can do with the code. So we, of course, it's not just for playing. It's also that we can design new damper. And one idea we had is to do a conical damper, which because when you have a conical shape, it's like cylindrical shape, you will have a contact that is quite robust. But we know that cylindrical damper doesn't work very well because you will just have rolling and you won't have slipping of energy. While this conical damper that was modeled in force, and for this one also, here you can see that you get a very good damping. And if you compare even against a wedge damper, you see that for in the in-phase mode, the conical damper works very well, while the wedge damper is not very efficient. And we are almost as efficient as a wedge damper. Other thing is that as the code is quite robust and works well, we can link it with optimal optimization technique, and we are working with Enora Denimal on topological optimization. And the same, we are starting to get quite good results and interesting results. That just shows that the code is really at maturity that allow to now start to do even optimization with the code. And finally, the last thing I want to show is what we are working on now with a new code. And it's in the framework of a European project where we want to solve large-scale model and not only localized nonlinearity, but distributed nonlinearity and geometric nonlinearities. And we develop a parallel code where you have to divide your geometry and to parallelize on different CPU. And that allows us, so linked always with harmonic balance method, that allows us to, for example, for a fan blade test case, to be able to model without any reduction the full system. And we are discovering some interesting phenomena that it was not really a good victory, because especially you will see with what Alessandro shows that maybe the reduced order model is better than the full model. We just discovered that if you don't put enough harmonic, the dynamic of your system is completely wrong. So for example, in this case, if you have only 3 harmonic for the first mode, you will predict a stiffening effect, while if you put enough harmonic, in this case 5 harmonic, you have the proper dynamics, which is the softening effect. And yes, this will kind of introduce what Alessandro is going to show after. So, in the summary, no, I didn't have too much time to show how harmonic balance method is a flexible tool for nonlinear vibration, but if you go to our publication, and I'm happy also to answer any question you may have, today we are really at a level, and we are not the only one. I mean, in Lyon or other group also, it's really a good tool for nonlinear vibration and very efficient. We had good success with developing new RAM for localized nonlinearity. Force really allow a large range of application. I couldn't show all the application here. And then for the outlook, so as I said, we are working on large-scale modeling toward billions degree of freedom. And the idea also, we need RAMs for distributed nonlinearities. And Alessandra will show you one example of techniques and very efficient techniques that can be used. And of course, it will be nice to use what we develop for other applications. So for example, UAV, machining, floating structure, or those competition cell laws that are very interesting structure. And also they work in a nonlinear regime. So thank you for the funding. So Rolls-Royce, CPSRC, Innovate UK, European Union, Shiny Scholar, Cubitac, which is a Turkish funding source, and all the people that work with me, so research associate and PhD student, so former PhD student and current PhD student. Thank you.